Chefs of Reddit, what are some cooking tips everyone should know? A falling knife has no handle. The worst cut I've ever had was from trying catch one on reflex. I got sliced across all my fingers. Great tip to internalize. I'm terrified because my natural instinct when I drop things is to break their fall with my foot, which has saved plates from breaking, sodas from exploding, phone screens from cracking, etc. Knives will keep right on stabbing, though. 2 things for beginners. First, taste as you cook, at various stages of cooking. While safe, not raw meat, taste your food as you cook it. This lets you know if you have too much of something or too little. It also helps you develop your palate for what different seasonings do. Second, if you're just starting out and don't know which spices to buy, pick a specific cuisine you like. Are you a fan of Italian food? Focus only on Italian recipes for a while. Most use similar herbs and spices because the cuisine of the area used what they had available to them. This will let you learn several recipes without having to buy massive amounts of spices to make it work. Eventually you will build up a good stock and be set to handle most things. The problem is I can't for the life of me make out flavors in food. My mom always says taste your food and see what it's missing. I always try that and I can't ever figure out what it is that it's missing. Is it garlic, onion, cumin, IDK? And I've been trying for years. Usually the missing thing will be salt or acid. Usually. Occasionally it is fat. Identifying missing herbs and spices is hard, but the biggest thing tasting will tell you is if you need to add more salt. If it's bland, more salt, or an acid depending on the dish, is usually what you need to kick up the flavor. Adding salt while you taste prevents you from oversalting, since you can't take it out. Also MSG, that chef's awesome at adding a nice beefy mushroomy parmesany flavor. Oven mitts can in fact catch on fire. Also if you have wet hands or get the oven mitt wet they don't work lol. A good kitchen should be equipped with a plentiful supply of clean dry towels. And oh god don't use it if they got wet. Tongs are also oven mitts, juicers, knives, spoons, and extendo arms. Just make sure you click them at least twice before using them to make sure they are on. +1 for the double click to activate tongs. 3 or 4 times the amount of butter and salt is a big part of why your food doesn't taste like restaurant food. How about 4 to 5 times the garlic? Still not enough. Got it. Gonna stock up on butter and salt. Wish me luck guys. 4 thick and nice sauces. Use the water you cook your pasta with. Soy sauce goes on more than Asian foods. Try a dash in scrambled eggs or towards the end of your caramelized onions. It is a savory salt flavor that complements many dishes. Avid home cook. The spice measurements in most online recipes are way too small. I usually double them. Cinnamon isn't just for sweet foods. It can be really good in savory foods. Don't forget the acid. A bit of citrus juice or vinegar can really make a dish pop and bring out the other flavors. Don't be afraid to deviate from a recipe, but be careful with baked goods. If you make big changes in baked goods you might get a dud unless you know how it will affect the baking process. Cooking is an art. Baking is a science. Source 20 years in the restaurant industry. Whatever you do, do not put your coconut in the microwave. I need to know the story behind this. They put the coconut in the microwave. When cooking at home, especially for guests and especially in winter, microwave the plates bowls for 30-90 seconds before putting the food on them. Cold plates take heat from food. Hot plates keep food hot longer. NB. Check your crockery is microwave proof first and obviously don't do it for food that's supposed to be cold like salads or ice cream. Salt is seasoning. It makes food taste more like itself. Acids, like citrus or vinegar can also do this. If your food tastes flat, or like it is missing something, try some salt or acid. Acid is also critical for balancing very rich fatty foods. The reason Americans love tomato ketchup so much is the fact that it adds acid and salt to their food. Adding a bit of heat like a pinch of cayenne can also accentuate the flavor of a dish. Spices are something else. They bring a new and different flavor to the dish. In sweets, sugar often takes the place of salt and is usually balanced by acid. See passion fruit, raspberry, citrus, etc. But salt plays an important role in sweets as well, often in unexpected ways. Try putting a pinch of kosher salt into your next batch of whipped cream. I could keep going but I'll leave it there. If you can master these concepts you will have a big advantage over most home cooks. People also don't realize that acid can continue cooking your food. A friend taught me a salmon dish where the only cooking is done using lemon lime juice. You need sushi grade salmon to be safe. Of course, it was wild to see the fish get cooked as if by magic. Instructions unclear. Currently tripping balls. If you're getting annoyed because it's taking you too long to peel garlic, place an unpeeled garlic clove under the flat side of your kitchen knife and press on it with your hand. The garlic peel will separate easily and your garlic will be crushed. I trim off the end of the clove and then lightly smash. So easy to get it peeled. I learned this from the Half-Blood Prince. This is the way. If you plan on using juice from limes, oranges or lemons, roll them around pushing on them, not too hard, before cutting them. Opinion on bottled lemon and lime juices? I mean, you can roll the bottles around on the counter, but it's really not necessary. I need to point out I am not chef. I just worked at a mom and pop restaurant as a waitress and I occasionally helped in the kitchen, the bar. This is what the chef taught me. Bottled lime juice works if you use a lot of lime juice. Does not taste as sour as fresh lime juice in my opinion. Mise en place: everything in its place. Have everything cut, seasonings and ingredients measured before you start cooking. This way you can focus on cooking. Brown meats in small batches. Do not overcrowd the pan. It will cause meat to sweat and will not brown properly. I love to cook. My now husband hated it when we started. Mise en place was the game changer for him. He said he felt so much pressure and had to focus on one thing at a time. Follow the instructions, then move on to the next. It was clearly immensely stressful for him. And staying on task meant not only huge delays to prep for the next part of cooking, but without a line in the recipe saying, "Taste it." He never did. We've done Home Chef for years now, initially to expand my cooking repertoire, then to help in a concise and instructional way, and now because having groceries delivered during a pandemic is useful and safe. He shoos me out of the kitchen now when it's his turn to cook, and is still my sous chef as needed. Really amazing to see someone enjoy what they once loathed, and I am so happy he's got another arena in life in which to feel confident. Learn basic cutting techniques for cutting vegetables. Keep it simple. The number ingredients doesn't say anything about the taste of a dish. Go for dishes you can make in 30 to 40 minutes with 6 to 8 ingredients. Keep a notebook. Gather a list recipes and dishes you do regularly. Expand gradually with new stuff. Don't just buy cookbooks you never really use. Adding is easy. Removing is hard. People here argue to liberally add butter and seasoning. Tastes differ, though. It's totally fine to put in less if that's what you fancy. You don't need a gazillion utensils in your daily cooking. A basic kitchen knife already does a lot of the heavy lifting. Learn to use that properly. Observe. How do ingredients act when you combine them? What happens when you put them in a pan or pot and apply heat? Always be cleaning. You have idle time? Clean the sink. Don't be afraid to fail. Learn from your mistakes. Also, don't pretend you know better than the recipe, especially if you never made a recipe before. Always be cleaning is important to end of meal satisfaction. It's such a drag to look up at the end of a great dinner and see a monstrous cleaning task ahead of you. I've been trying to teach my kids. Having them cook is a mixed pleasure. It's nice to see them contribute, and it's nice to get dinner ready made. Not so nice to clean up the bombed out mess in the kitchen afterwards. The amount of garlic flavor is dependent on when you add the garlic. Add it early for light flavor, add it late for bold flavor. I've been cooking really intensely at home during COVID and honestly can say I've gotten pretty good. But this might be the only thing I've seen on here that will really change my day-to-day cooking. Thank you. This is a tip I've gotten from cooking videos, mainly Kenji. If you chop your garlic or onion, the longer you let them sit on the side, the more potent they become. Not sure if this can be used to substitute a lack of quantity, but it's pretty interesting. I've been crushing the Home Chef game since COVID started. Mom was a massive cook, always cooking up the best shit at the church potluck, always giving folks who were sick some dope, nun casserole, wildly delicious Puerto Rican Iowan farmer fusion type Everyone agreed she was the best cook they had ever known. So I grew up hearing this and started paying attention when I realized none of my friends' moms even cooked at home other than 1 or 2 meals a week. I endlessly watched how she prepped and stirred. Heat mixing with creativity taught a ridiculous fusion of her childhood and everything she learned from her keen eye. Mom was making up every single meal from scratch. Oh, you want granola? I'll bake my own. It's cheaper and better. Or let's make tacos next week. I'll start sprouting the oats so I can grind my own flour for the tortillas. Woman was insanely talented. Never made mistakes. Knife skills off the charts. Pressure cooking bones and veggies for a whole day before the chicken noodle soup. At which, of course, she made her own noodles from scratch. Mom's even had her own massive garden, and we butchered our own chickens. Small hobby farm. So when this pandemic hit, I started throwing the F down in the kitchen. Well, needless to say, I've been using garlic a good bit because let's be honest, if you're not using garlic, you're not cooking most meals right. It's effing delicious. And this one tip is going to level up my game so effing hard it's not even funny. R.I.P. Mom, you are hugely missed. I'll keep cooking till I die, and every time I hit the recipe idea just right, Ma, think of you. Sharp knives are less dangerous than dull knives. I hate dull knives. Sharp knives require almost zero force, just a cutting motion and the knife does all the work. Also, no knives in the sink. Drives me crazy when I reach into the sink and find a knife. For one thing, I don't spend the time to sharpen our knives so that they can get dinged and dented under plates and pots and stuff. For another, if there's water in the sink or you can't see very well, it's super dangerous to leave anything sharp that someone can inadvertently grab. No knives in the sink. Can confirm. I was making clam chowder once, and as I tried cutting an onion with a dull knife, it slipped and sliced 3 of my fingers open. We bought a knife sharpener later that day. I hope you went to hospital first. Your pan does not need to be on maximum heat. You have to cook meat to a specific internal temperature to kill bacteria. Anything more is just trying it out. Generalized. Lemon zest and garlic with a cream sauce makes anything delicious. Wash your hands, tools, and area after dealing with raw meats. Watch the water splatter from the sink when washing as well. When a recipe calls for you to let something sit or rest, do not rush this step. Good things happen to the food in that time. You are less likely to cut yourself with a sharp knife compared to a dull one. Sifting flour, when adding it to baking recipes, can improve the results. Test your yeast before committing to using it. When cooking for a group, season lightly, and use hot spices sparingly. They can both be done after it's served. Puree or fine grate veggies such as carrots or zucchini into sauces, or even peanut butter, to get kids to get some nutrients. Buy a rice cooker. Uncle Roger said so. Sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. Wet hand, dry hand while breading or coating food. Never pry anything out of an electrical appliance. No metal in toasters or microwaves. Dishwashers have a gunk trap or general area where stuff collects. Clean this. Also check the water outlets, as lemon seeds and other things can clog them. Herbs and spices can be annoying to eat, such as twiggy pieces of rosemary or peppercorns. Put them in a cheesecloth or emptied out tea bag, wrapped in the liquid, to give their flavors but not the textures. Don't pan fry bacon in the morning with no shirt on. Buy local as often as you can. Sorry if this is a stupid question, but how do you test yeast? Add to warm water with a pinch of sugar and see if it blooms, becomes frothy. That's how you know it's alive. Put bacon on a baking rack with a baking sheet and toss it in the oven. Your bacon will be crispy and not greasy. Salt and pepper are your best friends. Spog for almost everything. Salt, pepper, onion, garlic, spoggers. Massively improve the quality of your proteins with fond. Doesn't matter the protein, but beef, pork, tofu. Fond is the dark brown stuff that sticks to your pan when you're cooking. It's not burnt unless it's actually black. To get it off the pan on the food, pour in either an alcohol or acid to dissolve it and get the now brown liquid to coat your protein. Different proteins work best with different alcohols. Good rule of thumb: dry white for chicken or any lighter meat, red for beef. Lemon juice works great for almost everything. If you find cooking unbearable, try being less sober while you do it. I enjoy cooking with wine. Sometimes, I even put it in the food. Jesus, that's the kind of she my mum would have on a fridge magnet. Wear a towel hat to hide the small rat. I am not a chef, but I know for a fact that you shouldn't cook something you aren't familiar with if you are having guests. While that is a very true statement, I almost always cook the best I've never tried for friends, family. I think it's kind of a nervous thing and I'm much more attentive at the ingredients. Oh, and about your username, thank you very much. Been while since anyone has said that. Do not put oil when boiling your pasta, especially if it is store-bought. The sauce would not adhere to an oiled pasta. Don't put out a grease fire with water. A microwave is your friend. Sharpen hone your knives. Clean up as you cook. Butter is the god of ingredients and bringing flavors forward. Olive oil is a condiment and is terrible to fry with. Use vegetable oil or any other neutral oil. It has a higher flash point and is pretty much flavorless. And don't be scared of salt, pepper. Throw that in there. Also, MSG is good.